Welcome to the introduction of the EnvokeIT Workspace client service. So what we're going to go through today is basically a quick introduction of what the Workspace service is and why we at EnvokeIT developed this really neat service. So EnvokeIT has been involved in rolling out a lot of new workplace services, and especially now on Windows 10. And there are different ways of doing this. You have the traditional way of doing it using, on-premises infrastructure like Active Directory, System Center Configuration Manager. But all this way of, managing Windows 10, you have to, do your image management. You have to make sure that you do your driver management and all of this. And managing Windows 10 and delivering it in the old way is good, especially in certain use cases. It's perfect. But now we have more a hybrid mode that we can also look at. How can we leverage Windows 10 out-of-box experience in Azure AD and Intune and potentially, of course, you can configure Configuration Manager to be out on the internet as well as an internet-based management point. But how do we do it in a simplest manner? The simplest way and the true mobile workplace is where you can pick any Windows 10 laptop and you can boot that up and log in using your corporate credentials, getting that device to register with Azure AD, potentially also or optionally you can join it into Microsoft Intune to take advantage of all the great capabilities you have in Intune on top of Azure AD. So when you have that modern delivery of Windows 10, it doesn't sit on your internal network. It doesn't sit, you don't have Active Directory, you don't have group policies, you don't have a lot of these capabilities that we've been using for years and years. And still we have a lot of legacy applications and settings and so forth, and we have compliance controls and settings that we need to get onto these devices. And Intune is not delivering all of these capabilities, even if it delivers a lot today, and it continues to of course grow in capabilities. But what we've seen is that there is a gap. There's a gap in what you can do when you're delivering this modern workplace. And we want to make sure that you can deliver this modern workplace, still be able to configure the workplace device and the user environment according to your needs, and especially using some of the capabilities that you've had in the old infrastructure. So what we've done is build a cloud-based service. So it's a SaaS configuration service. So it's built in the cloud for the cloud, so to say. We want to make sure that you don't have to set up any on-premise or Azure infrastructure as a service machines in order to deliver your end-to-end solution for your workplace. So what we do now is basically set up this service to make sure that you get the basic capabilities that you need. So registry management, file management, and PowerShell scripting. So think about that you have a device that's Azure AD joined to Intune. You can do software deployment, you can configure everything that Intune supports, but you want to leverage some of these group policies. I mean, there are almost 4,000 built-in group policies today already. Of course, the strategy is to move away from this as much as possible, but still, there are configuration things that you need. Especially if you look at examples of what we can solve for you. I mean, there are ways, like you still have to configure certain things, like browser settings. Could be your default browser. It could be that you want to place a user guide on all your users' desktop that you keep up to date. It may be that you want to get URLs out to your different sites that you're using. And it could be that you have policies in Edge or that you also want to configure. It could be OS features and roles that you want to basically control from a central location. And these are capabilities that are not built into Azure AD or Intune today. And there may be other things as well. So what we did is to look at an architecture overview. I mean, here you have Windows 10 devices. They're out on the internet, and you're connected into Office 365 to get your productivity suites. And of course, the Windows 10 device is joined to Azure Active Directory. Of course, you have the option there to do, right back into your on-prem AD and so forth. And then you have Microsoft Intune. It is there also to give you the capability that Intune provides in terms of, making sure that, compliance policies, or it could be that you're using that for software deployment, which is really good. You can get a new MSI-based, software deployment using MDM.
But there are still certain cases where you need to do additional configuration, and that's where our service, the EnvokeIT Workspace client service, comes in. So it's an agent that we usually deploy using Microsoft Intune. So you deploy the agent, and then you basically instruct the agent to communicate with the tenant of our SaaS service. And this is the portal to our SaaS service that we're looking at right now. As you can see, you have some whys and how we're doing it and so forth, and also some frequently asked questions that you can turn to, like questions regarding the trial period, purchasing in general, questions or technical questions, etc. And of course, you can also review our the different price models that we have. So we have a user and a device plan that we're licensing this service on. And of course, we're here. Please contact us. We'd love to help you on your journey delivering the modern workplace. We have a lot of experience on Windows 10 deployments, Office 365, and Enterprise Mobility Suite with Intune, etc. So let's go back to basically logging in to the service. So I'm going to log in here. And if you have not signed up for the service yet, please do so. You click the sign up button, you enter your email address, password, your name, your tenant. After you enter that information, we'll send you a verification email just to verify that you have access to your email. And then basically from there, we provision your tenant. So then after, you log in just like I'm doing right now. So when you log in, you come to this welcome dashboard where you have a quick overview of your tenant. A little bit of a billing period, your active devices and users, the licensing that you have, and your balance for your tenant. And of course, you can also set your different licensing plans, and you can get an overview of the active clients that you have in here. And on the left-hand side, you have a menu for the service on how you manage your tenants. You can, your account and your company profile. You can go in and change your logo and address and so forth. User management, here you can do your user management. And from a user perspective, this is users within the tenant. So these are the administrators of your workspace. So everyone that needs to manage your clients and your user environments out there, they are the ones that you add as users. And then you have the most important part, which is the configuration management. So configuration management is where you are configuring your tenant and all the capabilities that you want to make sure, or the configurations that you want to make sure are out there on the client side. So here we come into the configuration management portal, where you see that we have different tabs. So one tab is configuration groups. So configuration groups think of them as Active Directory groups where computers can be a member, or an entity like an organizational unit, OU. So devices are members of configuration groups. And then you have different configuration items, like a registry item, a file item, or PowerShell script. All of these are linked to one or multiple configuration groups. As you can see here, I have a standard settings. So for my tenant, I have a standard settings group. And as you can see, it's active, and it's also the default group. So any agent that is being installed on a device that is registered with this tenant will get all the settings from the standard settings group by default. And as you can see, it's a quite aggressive sync frequency. So the agents in this tenant will sync every minute. We'll make sure that it has all the settings and all the files and all the PowerShell scripts are being run every minute if you want. And you can create multiple groups. You can have sales, you can have IT, you can have marketing, or whatever you need in here. And these are controlled then from how you provision and how you do the devices. And as you can see here on the edit group, you can see that you can configure this, and you can flag a group as default or not, and change that. And if you go over to registry management, this is where you can add registry configurations. And these are the configurations that you should have on the device. You can manually add a registry item. So if you know what registry you want to add, you will basically select which groups do I want this registry settings to be applied to. What are is it an
HK current user, what's the key path, what's the value name, the data, and the value type. Is it a string, is it a D word? And is this register setting going to be active or passive? So we can turn it on or off in the system, and we keep a track of that and send it over to the agent. We can also enforce. This is important. We can enforce register items. So then if we enforce a register item and link it to a group, then we make sure that this register item is always written down on the client when the group is being synced. Or we can not enforce it, just leaving it unchecked. Then we'll make sure there's written once and log back. Cancel out of this. And the other important is that, okay, you may not know all the settings, register settings for GPOs, etc. So we made it easy for you. So you can import from a template. And when you import from a template, what happens is that you get a UI where you can basically say that I want to control. If you've been working with group policy before, you know, you recognize yourself. So let's say you want to set maybe you want to set a desktop wallpaper. So basically what we do then is to import all the GPOs, and then you can select from there, and we'll populate the fields for you, and then you can add that in. So, which is very nice. So now you can see basically here that I have a couple of settings that are already there for standard. So writing down some registry items, and they're linked to the standard settings group. They're being synced every minute. And there may be also scenarios where we need to trigger files. We want to make sure the files get out to the user's devices. Could be configuration files for an applications like I9 files or whatever it may be. And it could also be a user guide that we want to make sure that is available and updated on all the user's desktop. Or it could be a background picture that we want to make sure that we set as wallpaper. And if you deploy the wallpaper in this scenario and you configure it through the GPO, our agent will make sure that the file is being copied down and that we refresh the display to make sure that that is being set correctly. And another use case is, of course, as you can see here, files like you have, links to a web page or whatever it may be that you want to configure also. So there are a lot of different scenarios you can cover with registries and files. Almost all GPOs are registries and file settings. And then we have the last option, and this is the new capability that we just released. So some of you who have been trying out this service before, now you can also run PowerShell scripts. So you can write any PowerShell script, and think about what you can do with PowerShell scripts. PowerShell is very powerful. So anything that you can do in PowerShell, you can now do on all your devices, regardless if you have them joined to your Active Directory or not. And in this case, I've just written a very simple PowerShell script that just writes a log file to the temp folder of the user. So when you add a new PowerShell script, we can edit this one. You can see you can link it to a group, one or many, and then you just upload the PowerShell scripts and then write a description. And then you select here what run mode you want on this PowerShell script. And this basically tells our agents, shall we run it as the user that's logged onto the system, or shall we run it using the local system account? And also what's important is that, do we want to execute this script once, or do we want to do it every time the configuration group is being synced? So this is a very nice feature. And just think about the capabilities you have now. So you have GPOs, you have files, and you have all the PowerShell script that you can use as well. And if we look at this one, we execute this every time we sync. So we can have a look now on the clients in my tenant here. So in the tenant, under the client management, I have a couple of clients that are here and they're syncing. And what we're going to do is to look at how is the agent actually reporting back, and what are we getting when we have a system that's up and running. So as you can see here at the bottom, we have a desktop, and we see my user ID here as well. So from the service perspective, I as a user, I am one entity, but my desktop is also an entity. So that's my local system service that's running. And we can look now if you remember the PowerShell script that we specified to be run at every time the standard settings are being synced, we can have a look at my sync logs. So at my sync logs, we can see here that some things are being enforced. So we have a lot of different registry settings, and we have a couple of files in here, and we can see also that the PowerShell script has been run as well. And we can go back in time and look at all the different logs files that we have. And of course we have payment and billing, so we can look at that. And we also have the different agents that we have to download and install on the different devices. So the agent itself you can deploy using different methods, but of course the simplest one is basically to install it using Microsoft Intune, and then it will automatically register when you pass it your tenant code, etc. So that was a very quick introduction of the Workspace client, and we're very happy to now release it as a tech preview. So please sign up and contact us for any questions you may have or any assistance you may require on your Windows 10 or Office 365 or Enterprise Mobility projects. Have a great day. Thank you.